You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, like some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And we're back. We're back with some more main course for you. Some main course, and I am talking about the Saints, the New Orleans Saints versus the Los Angeles Rams. And this is in Los Angeles, so this is a road game. But just like past week, the Saints aren't getting their regularly slotted noontime game. But this is another 3:05 game, 3:05 Central, 4:05 Eastern time start time. And once again, you know, we got the opportunity, like earlier in the weeks, you know, you get the opportunity of watching the Thursday night game and being able to enjoy that pretty much stress-free. And then they had a good international run there for about a month where you had these games that were on at 8:30 in the morning, so you could watch those before you had to stress out and watch the Saints play. I don't think there's another international game, but there is a full lineup of the early noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern time games that you should probably, if you're a football fan more than just a Saints fan, you should take your opportunity to watch and enjoy some of those. Even though last week all the games were pretty much blowout besides the Jets and the Bengals. And the only enjoyment besides that being a decent game was just watching the Falcons get blown out. But hopefully there'll be some better games on the early slot, and hopefully I'm not sure actually when the Falcons play. I don't keep that close of tabs on them, but hopefully they play in the early slot and get beat down again. So at least we'll have that to go on, and at least that may be the only thing we have after playing the Rams. But anyways, before I get too deep into this, I just want to apologize a little bit for getting to you a little pretty late on this, even on Saturday night here, because I didn't do the injury report and the updates on the news and notes for that. I didn't do that yesterday, so that would have been Friday, because I was doing Halloween activities, you know, and you ask yourself, what did I dress up for Halloween? Well, you know, I have a standing run of dressing up as like a clown, you know, for Halloween, you know, face paint and all, and different clowns, you know, through horror ages, you know, like It and Art the Clown and so on, Ramstein clowns and things like that. But you know, it was a lot easier this year, not having to do all the face paint and the red nose and the wig and all the funny looking outfits, you know, because I was just able to put on a Saints jersey and an old Saint hat, because being a Saints fan, you pretty much feel like a clown. So that was easy enough. Being a clown, my outfit was pretty simple. You know, just put it on an old Reggie Bush jersey and a old hat that doesn't even really fit my head anymore. I mean, I'm not really someone that wears hats. I mean, you probably see why. There's no need to wear a hat when you got a mop like this on top. But yeah, so that's what I was for Halloween. And you don't worry, I wasn't alone in this joke. I had my buddy who's a Las Vegas Raiders fan wearing basically the same thing, and it doubled up as making the Saints look even clownish, because the jersey he was wearing was the number 4 Derek Carr jersey and an old Raiders hat. So yeah, Halloween, it was fun, but previous times past and when the Saints have been better and I've actually been a clown, I will admit, probably been more fun. But besides that, getting to you a little late, so wasn't able to do it on Friday, but also wasn't able to do it earlier today because I didn't have power for a couple hours around like noon, 1 p.m. My power went out and was out until almost like what 4 p.m. So a couple hours, and the power box or voltage box uh, got blown out by a squirrel. So a squirrel knocked my power out. So that's why I'm getting to you even later than normally. But anyways, that's enough about me. I have another shout out here for another subscriber here. So man, the even with the Saints being so bad, and some of this comes from the UFC, the Mixed Martial Arts podcast as well, but I felt with the Saints being so bad, it just seemed like my views and comments and subscribers and follows, all that, it kind of slowed down a little bit. But here it seems like in a couple podcasts in a row, am I having someone to shout out, whether it's a subscriber, a commenter, but yeah, I have another one to shout out. I have a new subscriber here, which man, just keep them coming. Keep them coming with the comments, the likes, the subscribing, all that, because that's really what keeps me going. Just something like another subscriber or kind words from someone that might keep me going for another month, especially in a tough season like this. But yeah, let me shout out the new subscriber here. So I just want to shout out Jesse Ritchie. Really appreciate the subscribing. I think you may have been subscribing more off of some of the mixed martial arts videos I've done, like UFC 321. But still, regardless, if you tuning in and this pops up on your feed, YouTube feed, and you happen to click on it, well, I just want to shout you out, Jesse Ritchie. But anyway, so for anyone else out there, you comment, like, uh, subscribe, any of that. If I can pick you out of the crowd, if you're not a bot or anything like that, and you actually have your own YouTube account, I'll pick you out. I'll subscribe you and shout you out. And like I said, might keep me going for a couple more months. It's a lot easier to do these podcasts and stuff when you know that you get recognition from your fans and you have people that are like and enjoy actually what you're doing. So I just want to shout you out, Jesse Ritchie. All right. So now then, on to the Saints and the Rams here. But before we get too deep into that, I need to ask one thing. Can I get a menu? And so before I get into the injury report, I just kind of want to talk about the Rams. Like, man, things don't seem to be getting easier for the Saints. It seems to just be getting harder and harder with their opponents. Because I mean, I, I don't know if I really thought that the Bears were really like that great of a team or anything. And then just last week, kind of the wheels coming off. But man, and the thing that was kind of nice playing those games the last couple weeks or so was the fact that those teams were all coming off a bye week, and the Saints weren't able to take real advantage of that. But yeah, I didn't think the Bears were all that good, uh, and but knew that the Buccaneers were definitely dangerous, but they were beat to hell with injuries. So you thought maybe that gave the Saints a leg up on them. On top of them coming off of a short week, having played on Monday, and then even the Bears coming off of a bye week, but or not coming off a bye week. Both of those teams coming off of playing Monday night games, so they were both coming off of short weeks. And we saw how that played out. That didn't end up helping the Saints at all against the Bears or the Buccaneers, who were missing like 50% of their team was on the injury report. So looking at this Rams game, this Rams team coming in here fresh off their bye week, explosive offense with Matthew Stafford. I think Puka Nakua's coming back, and then just on the defense, uh, put could easily put Tyler Shuck in hell by blitzing him. Just Jared Verse alone, as who was the defensive rookie of the year. I just don't. This doesn't look like this is going to be a favorable matchup for the Saints, or that there's any favorable matchups in this game at all. But we'll get more a little deeper into that when we do the picks and score. But let's get into the injury report because they're not really too long. Not a lot of injured players for the Saints or Rams, just besides the players that aren't listed that I believe. I'm sure both teams have a couple players on IR, but for the players that are practicing or haven't been put on IR for any kind of injuries, both these teams seem pretty relatively healthy. But let's get into the Saints injury report. Just because like the past couple of weeks hadn't been real long or anything, but it hasn't added up and equaled wins at all. Having a probably I would say the Saints are in the top 16 uh, in regard to just being a healthy team. But like I said, it's not really to do with health. It's more a talent that the Saints are lacking, and the only really good players that may be like top 10 players in their position are players that are on IR. But let's get into the first player on here. So we have running back Alvin Kamara, who's been dealing with an ankle injury since all the way back. What was that, the Rams or the Patriots game? So he's been dealing with that for a while, but he was limited all week and was still, even though he's had similar injury reports where then he doesn't really show up on like what his game status would be, like has no game status. It's kind of interesting, with the trade deadline coming up, that he's actually listed as questionable, and that actually is a pretty popular, common trend on this injury report, and be will raise a lot of red flags. A lot of alarms will go off if these three players that are listed as questionable actually don't end up playing. Even though we've heard about Alvin Kamara not wanting to be traded, that he'd rather retire than play somewhere else. If he doesn't play in this game after practicing all week, I'd be very interested to see what comes for the first, for what is like on Tuesday or something is the trade deadline. So Alvin Kamara questionable with his ankle, and then running back Devin Neal also dealing with an ankle. And Devin Mill, I'm wanting to see more of him. So whether Alvin Kamara is getting traded or not, I would almost like it if he does sit out this game just for his health alone. But also, I would like to see Devin Neal get more snaps, not just catching some scat back kind of role. I'd actually like to see him get some touches. Like 10 carries would be interesting to see what he could do with them. But he's dealing with an ankle injury as well. But due to age and all that, I don't think it's as severe as Alvin Kamara's because he was limited Wednesday and Thursday, but was full on Friday, no game status. So we should see Devin Neal regardless of what happens with Alvin Kamara. And then here's the trend kind of continuing. We have wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, also a highly touted and sought after uh, trade potential with him, dealing with a hip. He was limited all week and questionable, just like Alvin Kamara. Very interested to see how that ends up playing out. And then the last one, I also have a cornerback, Alante Taylor, shoulder, limited all week and questionable. If all three of those guys end up not playing, like I said, the alarms will be going off like crazy. Then I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Then I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those players end up getting traded. So those are your three kind of the only kind of real interesting thing about the Saints injury report because the Saints are healthy. Besides that, really. Then you have a tight end, Jawan Johnson, neck was full all week, no game status. Wide receiver Chris Olave, ankle was full all week and has no game status. And it's a little interesting. When all this trades talk and talking about how the Saints are out of the playoffs and their season's pretty much over. Really, the top trade commodity that you would have thought for the Saints was Chris Olave, but now I this would be even more interesting if he was listed as limited all week and questionable and doesn't play. But looks like even if he is a trade candidate, looks like he's going to play anyways. But there's also been rumblings about the Saints wanting to re-sign him to a deal, some back and forth over wanting more than 29 million a year, which I don't think he's worth, but I guess we'll see. Like I said, we'll have to see come next week what happens at the trade deadline. Like that's kind of the most exciting excitement that I've had around the Saints 2025 season. Like up until this point, like since the win over the Giants. Like that's the one of the dates really in the 2025 season I'm looking forward to. I'm real interested to see who the Saints trade, or if they don't trade anyone at all, or if they do something real stupid and trade by like they only have like 5 draft picks in the 2025 draft. So if they did something just ridiculous and actually traded more of their picks for a player that's basically would be pointless to trade for any talent and definitely any like highly talented players that you're giving up more than like a fifth round pick for a team that season is over. But yeah, so all that's interesting. But then it's also interesting that Chris Olave is not kind of has the same trend as them. But hopefully, maybe Chris Olave will show out and have a big game and another double-digit touchdown game, and maybe that will bump his price up a little bit if someone's wanting him for at least a second round pick or something. And then the final player is defensive tackle Devin Gachu, who's pretty much all year he's been on here for veteran rest day. So non-injury related rest. Practice Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday, full on Friday, and no game status. So that's the Saints injury report. Besides the 3 or 4 players that they have, finds the 3 or 4 players they have. See on IR, the Saints are still one of the healthiest teams in the league, and yeah, it's kind of annoying. But anyways, let's get into the Rams injury report because they seem pretty healthy as well, right up there with the Saints, and I mean they should be coming fresh off their bye week. But they have starting with O lineman Rob Havenstein, who I believe is a starter for them. Ankle was limited Wednesday, Thursday, and full on Friday, no game status. So they have one of their starting offensive linemen. Then you have a safety, uh, Cameron Kitchens, who I think is a starting defensive back for them as well. Toe was limited Wednesday and Thursday, and then full on Friday, no game status. And then wide receiver, of course, Puka Nakua, who's been hurt and out and hadn't played for a couple weeks, but super on brand, but very saintsy for one of the best wide receivers in the league to come back for his first game back to be against the Saints. So you know he's gonna go off for what, like 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown, probably. But yeah, wide receiver Puka Nakua, it looks like he's healthy now. He was dealing with an ankle injury, but was limited Wednesday, full Thursday and Friday, and has no game status. So yeah, Puka Nakua, he'll have a real great get back, comeback game. You guys forgot about me. You need to recognize me. Put some respect on my name after making the Saints defense and secondary look like clowns, I'm assuming. And then you have really only concern looking for the Rams is another one of their starting defensive backs, cornerback Darius Williams. Shoulder, he was limited Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I'm not sure if it's because he had a setback or maybe he's a trade commodity as well. But he's doubtful, listed as doubtful for the Rams. And then they have some similar non injury related rest days for all these 3 players that didn't practice on Friday but have no game status. You have a tight end, Tyler Higbee, who's a starter for them, outside linebacker, Byron Young, who I think is a starter for them, and Al Rick Jackson, O line, is another one of starters for them. Most of the players on their injury report are starters, but I don't. Besides Darius Williams, it doesn't look like any of those guys are going to miss time against the Saints. So expected when it comes to Saints and playing other teams and teams that are seem get lots of times want to say it's teams that are healthier than them, but in this regard, it's more just a team that's just as healthy as them. But can't say that holds true too much in regards to like, oh yeah, the Saints are at a real advantage when they're healthier than another team because that was not the case at all when they played the Buccaneers last week. Like Buccaneers were at like 50% strength, and the Saints are probably like around 80 and still got absolutely clowned and just looked absolutely terrible. All right, so now then, that's enough of the injury report. On to MVPs. So I'm gonna this is kind of a cop out pick, but it goes back to like the fact that like I've never seen what he can do. I don't know what he's gonna do. We've seen a lot of Saints players and my MVP pre-game MVP picks over the last couple weeks. It just that it's not very often that the players I pick end up showing out. So and I've watched majority of these players play for the past 8 weeks or so, and none of them on a consistent basis really show out and have MVP performance, even though it seemed like Chris Olave was on a pretty good run there for a while where he's having close to 100 yards, 5+ catches, caught 3 touchdowns and things like that. But, so I'm going with a bit of a cop out here, and I don't think it'll end up leading to a win, even if he does have a good win, a good game. But it might just be considered a good game compared to like what the Saints have seen from the quarterback room this year. But my MVP for this game, I'm going with Tyler Shuck. I hope that maybe Tyler Shuck can give us a spark, possibly. And maybe at least we can go back to like the first couple games of the season. That at least it was enjoyable to watch and not just an absolute clown show, shit show, fumbling and throwing interceptions just nonstop. But I don't think this is gonna. Tyler Shuck is going to be completely absent of throwing any interceptions in this game. But just want it to be a spark and have some juice from the quarterback position. And I don't mean that that's going to be like a 300-yard game with like 3 touchdowns, no touchdowns, or yeah, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like just from what we've seen and had to endure all season from Spencer Rattler, not even getting like 250 yards and hardly more than like 2 touchdowns a game. Like if we could get 250 yards from Tyler Shuck or passing and 2 touchdowns and I'd go ahead and even 2 interceptions, like at least it would be exciting and be something different to watch, and at least be getting more air yards, yard per reception would go up. Would be nice to see. But yeah, I'm going with kind of the easy one. That Tyler Shuck had an entire week to prepare with the starters to take down the Rams. Yeah, that's what I'm really expecting here. And then onto hot takes. I'm expecting the Saints defense kind of like last week to for the first two quarters or so to play their hearts out and really kind of keep the Saints in the game until like the second half or so, and just kind of the ass end falls out of everything, and they're just not able to handle the Rams having starting like almost every drive with good field position, whether it's because the Saints can't move the ball at all, or they're turning the ball over, or they're not having good punts to at least try to pin the Rams back or anything like that. But still, early on, I think they're going to be respectable, and you can tell that they're at least early on in the game. The Saints defense and defenders are going to be playing their hearts out. And for a hot take, I think we're going to get to see another goal line stand, So that I look at goal line stand as like inside the 5 yard line type of play. And it may not be one where, like the Buccaneers last week, where they run it 4 times and go 4 and out, but they may stop them on three attempts, not runs necessarily, but still a goal line stand, and maybe force the Rams to kick a field goal, which who knows in this game and how the Saints have been playing, how 3 points may be enough to beat them. But yeah, so maybe Saints defense looks respectable and looks kind of like they did last week, to where if the Saints offense was average, then maybe the Saints could start winning games. But that's probably not going to happen unless Tyler Shuck comes out and 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 is more like exceeds what I was expecting for him to get my pre-game MVP. But so another goal line stand from the defense, at least in the first half, or at least before, like I said, they kind of get tired and kind of lose motivation and kind of give up. And it's hard for them to watch. It's even hard for them to watch the Saints offense from the sideline. And then the other hot take is Saints rusher is going to have at least 50 yards rushing in this game. That's just one of the, that's a leading cause for the Saints losses. Like I know understand that the Saints seem to get behind in like every single game, and then they're fighting back from a 14-point deficit in every single game, and then that just leads to them like not running the ball like at all. You got like Alvin Kamara with like 28 yards rushing, or Devin Neal with like 1 yard rushing, or you got what Taysom Hill with like 2 carries for like 10 yards, and not can't even get 100 yards total rushing in a game. Like I would love to see that change. So a Saints rusher, like an individual rusher, having 50 yards rushing would be nice. So I'm hoping the Saints can do that. Obviously, 50 yards isn't going to lead to a win for the Saints, but at least it'll maybe show some more production there in the run game that they've had like zero over the last couple of weeks. And maybe that will come if Alvin Kamara doesn't end up playing or is traded. Maybe we'll get a 50 yard rushing game from Devin Neal. That'd be nice, and if nothing else, at least it'd be something different. And man, if the Saints could just have 100 yards in total in a game for once, would be nice, because that's just pathetic. You got your top rushers only having less than 30 yards rushing and like no touchdowns. Just awful. So that's the hot takes, you know. Let's just go get to the pick and score here. So I just don't really see the Saints having much of a chance at all in this game. Like the defense may come out and be respectable in the first half or so, but I think they'll, just like the Bears and the Buccaneers last week, they'll only be able to hold the Rams off for so long, and the Rams uh, have a better offense, and or at least healthier than the Buccaneers, and have a better offense, and obviously probably the better quarterback, definitely, of the Bears. A healthy Buccaneers team might be just as good, but they weren't healthy. But yeah, this Rams offense, I just see see it doing. It will do what the Bears and the Buccaneers defense kind of had to do for those teams, getting what six Saints turning it over like 6 or 7 times the past 2 games, 6, 7, 8 times. But I feel like maybe the Saints won't be quite as bad turning the ball over, but it won't matter because the Rams have a better offense and are a healthier team than Chicago and the Buccaneers right now. So uh, my might keep it close in the first half, but like we said, the ass end and all that's going to fall out at the end, just whether it's because of the offense and the defense just kind of giving up, or the offense just being a turnover machine. So for the picks and score, I'm going 35-19. Rams win, and you got to really highlight that 19 points of the Saints. Like that'd be a big improvement from only the 3 points that they had last week against the Buccaneers, but not an improvement in regards to the entire season. The Saints have only scored more than 21 points in a game once, like all year. What they had like 24 points or 23 points against the 49ers, and that was back in week 2. And since then, they can't even score 21 points or more. So I definitely see that trend continuing, and even with Tyler Shuck season starting for us. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. This game just kind of feels like the past 2 3 weeks. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of hope. Even with uh, getting the actual like debut, like the game day starter debut of Tyler Shuck. I still don't think that's going to be enough to make the Saints look respectable or just even get a win. I seriously don't see that happening. But I'll be there. I'll be locked in, and hopefully I'll have some joy to bring with me into that game from something I witnessed in the early portion of the game. Because it's just a reminder that this Saints game is the second in a row and only the second game all year that's been an evening game, a 3:05 p.m. Central Time or 4:05 Eastern Time. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So, who dat? And can I get a check, please?